This episode of Grilled is sponsored by Rationale, your leading provider in multifunctional hot food preparation equipment. Register now for a free Rationale live demo at www.rationale-online.com.
Oh, that's very tough. I think I'd choose Gordon Ramsay. He's a pussycat compared to my wife.
Arsenal are just like a nothing team now, aren't they?
Ooh. I personally think he was his PA, he was bringing his PA for lunch, and she was a vegan.
Nobody ever called it foraging. He was just scratching around in dirt.
Yeah, Halston's got some habits, all right.
The prostitute, football, and Gordon Ramsay, and 4% dwarfs. That is obviously true.
Firstly, Nicola Sturgeon should off.
Last time I was in Thailand, I ate a raw buffalo and its offal and blood and bile lard.
Some fat, bloated, bearded mess.
By which C word do you mean? Because if I'm thinking of the C word to go with the government, it's a very different one to the one that you might be talking about.
Welcome to Series 3 of Grilled by the Staff Canteen. I'm Cara, the editor of the Staff Canteen, and if you enjoyed this episode, please do recommend us or rate us where you get your podcast, because the more listeners, the better. So this is the penultimate episode of Keeping It in the Family. I've been talking to those in hospitality who have braved working with members of their family, find out why they do it and if they recommend it. My guests today are husband and wife. They work alongside each other as part of the Scottish powerhouse, the Kitchen Group. The pair met while both working in the kitchen of legendary Swiss chef Anton Mosselmann, and Tom is Scotland's youngest Michelin-starred chef proprietor, having achieved a star aged only 29 with the kitchen, which the couple opened in 2006. Michaela and Tom Kitchin, welcome to Grilled.
Hi, thank you.
There, thank you very
Thanks
much.
for having us.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm looking forward to this. So, how are you both? Let's start there.
Yeah, we're good. I think we're struggling through like everybody with the homeschooling and the rest. But yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah. It's certainly been a change around, and certainly from my point of view, like imagine how crazy my life was before this pandemic, and to what I'm doing now has been quite a role reversal, shall we say?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Used to having him around quite so much.
You're still sitting nice and close together though, so I'm hoping that you still like each other a little bit.
Yeah.
We do.
Well, before we go into some of my questions, Tom, I just want to start with you, because some of the chefs I've had on Grilled for this particular topic, I've kind of asked them a similar thing. So you've worked for a number of 3-starred chefs and other amazing chefs, but because he's such a character, I want to ask you, can you tell me your best, funniest or most memorable story of working for Pierre Koffmann? Because I've not had any Pierre Koffmann stories yet.
Oh, goodness me, where do we start? 5 years of my life working for chef. Arrived in London at 18 years old at La Tonclair, the original Tonclair on Royal Hospital Road. There's so many stories, from simple things when he would drop something on the floor and you would bend down to pick it up and then he'd fart in your face. He thought that was very, very funny. And then there's stories about, like, as a young chef, I wrote about it in my first book, but there was a moment when I was on the garnish and chef was on the meat section, and chef cooked all the meat and I did all the garnishes for the meat. And I was always in the shit. I was totally, I was running from 7 a.m. till midnight every day, just trying to survive, thinking every day was my last day before he sacked me. And on this particular day, I was doing the staff food. And he came along, and, you'll hear people say they called him the bear, because he literally came like a bear, and he put his finger into my staff food and it was too salty and he threw it against the wall. And in today's world, you wouldn't, people might be a little bit alarmed by that, but that was the way it was then. And then he went into my fridge and he took all my garnishes that I'd got ready for lunch and gave it to the staff. And that was it. My world was finished. That was it. I was off. I was leaving, and I went into my drawer to get my knives, and I wrapped my knives up, and the tears were coming down my face. And there's a great chef who was in the kitchen with me that you might know, called Helena Polaka, who was recently at Skylon, and she worked with D&D. She was with Pierre Koffmann for many years. She's now moved back to Helsinki, and she saw that I was about to walk out. And she came across, she's a strong girl, Helena. She came across and she pinned me against the wall and said, "You will stay, you will fight." And that was like a defining moment in my career for me, because if I was on my way back to Scotland, that was it. I was out of London. I was going back to Scotland, and she made me stay. And who knows, if I'd gone back to Scotland that day, who knows? I don't think I would have had the career that I'm having to date, if you know what I mean.
Do you reckon you would have stayed as a chef, or you could have done something completely different, couldn't you?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I was going back to Scotland, and I probably would have ended up working in a 3-star, 4-star hotel somewhere in Edinburgh or Glasgow or something. And I certainly wouldn't have had the opportunity and the training that I got, you know. So yeah.
So in a way, thanks to Pierre Koffmann for chucking the food and giving the staff all your garnishes.
No, yeah, totally. I mean, we talk a lot about it, how the industry's changed, and yes, absolutely, the industry has changed for the better. But I tell you what, those kind of moments, I was the type of chef that thrived on those, because, you know, he pushed me to my limits, but every time I was about to go, he just kind of reeled me back in like a fish, you know. And then I stayed longer. And then over time, you become stronger mentally, and you understand that it is a little bit of a game, and you mature into the role. But so, yeah, he definitely pushed me for the right reasons, yeah.
Well, thank you for like you said, I'm sure you've got lots and lots of stories that you could tell us. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that one. And I'm sure there's chefs listening to this thinking I've got a few stories about Pierre as well. So
they've probably got a few stories about me as well now. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I will be asking some chefs going forward about you. Don't you worry. Right. So now I'm going to put you both on the spot. I've been asking like a few kind of Mr. and Mrs. style questions to find out a bit more about you both, but also make sure you do know each other a little bit. So, first question, Michaela, what is Tom's favourite meal?
Oh dear, I would say he is always looking forward to the first grouse. I mean, we talk about this grouse all summer, you know, the excitement about August coming and him eating the first grouse. I would say that's probably up there, isn't it?
No, absolutely, yeah. First grouse of the season. That's what we look forward to all year.
Yeah, but saying that, you get excited all year round for different stuff.
I'm in trouble just now in lockdown, because the first thing I say in the morning is, so what should we have for dinner? I was thinking that we should have this. She's like, can you stop talking about food?
You're planning your day around your meals.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Okay, Michaela, equally, is there an ingredient or a food which Tom would refuse to eat?
Oh, anything that is sort of half fabricated, half made, or, you know, like back in the day, sometimes I used to sort of cheat a little bit when I was cooking something, and, you know, I would add like maybe, you know, one of these kind of bags that makes it easier to make a sauce or something like this, and he just always caught me out and spotted it, and I just couldn't work it out. Why he was always like he knew, and, you know, very fanatical about just always doing the whole process. You can't cheat with everything, which is quite annoying sometimes. I do cheat occasionally when he's not around, but now he's always around every day, so it's hard to do that. But yeah, no, I've certainly learned a few tricks along the way.
She makes a very good bechamel sauce.
Oh, come on.
So would you agree, Tom? Is that correct? Anything that's not made from scratch?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that's not made from scratch, anything like any ready meal or anything like that, there's no danger. I'm not touching that. There's no danger. I'd rather starve.
Oh.
Right, Tom, what is Michaela's favourite thing about you?
Her favourite thing about me? Oh, well, I don't know. I think she, most of the time, she enjoys my enthusiasm for life, my never-ending energy of, you know, getting things done and, you know, pushing on. But also sometimes that's an annoyance to Michaela that I never actually stop and relax.
That is true.
But I think overall, yeah, she likes that I've got that energy to always carry on, you know.
Michaela, do you agree?
I do agree. I think he's, you know, I do admire him for having the energy that he does have. But you're quite right. It does get on my nerves too sometimes, because he's like, oh, come on. It's like constant, never ending, always pushing on. And I'm like, enjoy the moment. Like it could be that we've just, achieved something, or we've just opened a new restaurant, or we've just like won a prize or something. And I'm like, enjoy it. And he's like, come on, we have to like look at the next thing, and what's next, and how can we do this better? And it's like, I have to calm you down sometimes. I mean, I'm quite enthusiastic myself, but I do think that I do have to calm you down.
It's a good balance.
Okay. Well, that kind of leads nicely on to my next question, Michaela, which is, what are you both most likely to argue about?
What would you say?
What are we both most likely to argue about? Well, I don't know, really. Let's have a think about that.
What is that? You interfering with my stuff?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I mean, I think we're, because we're always in each other's pockets, kind of more or less, it's quite, I think you do need to have your own defined spaces. It's really, really important. And I think, we do our own sports separately, and we do have time in our lives when we really feel like we need to do our own thing. And sometimes, like now in lockdown, I'm really getting really fanatical about trying to be on top of the laundry and the washing, and I'm like, don't come in here, this is my zone. It's quite crazy. Life has changed so much.
Lockdown has brought new restrictions to life, if you know what I mean, because we've never spent this much time in the house together, obviously, like many people. So I've now got areas that I'm allowed to go in and not go in, so I stick very much to the cooking, emptying the dishwasher, shopping, all that kind of stuff, and I don't venture into the other side.
The kids are saying, please, Daddy, don't cook anything really posh tonight. The kids say, can we just have something normal? And I just don't know if they're referring to my normality of cooking, because it's just like normal stuff.
Like 15-course tasting menus for every evening.
Well, the other day I did a saffron risotto with some shellfish.
It was
and
lovely.
Our youngest twin, Logan, who's 7, he literally stood up and says, Daddy, I'm leaving. I'm not having this. I'm not doing this every night, And I was like, no, I was trying to explain it. It's like a saffron risotto. It's like a really classic dish. And he wasn't.
And you said it was sort of pasta related.
Yeah, he says, can we not just have pasta?
It was quite sweet. Yeah.
The kids craving junk food.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
Both of you, this question: who has the worst handwriting?
Oh, that's me, 100%. Handwriting and spelling, I'm atrocious. Yeah.
Well, that was an easy one there.
Oh, yeah. It's so annoying because Michaela is originally Swedish, and her writing and her grammar and everything is, so many PR companies that we've worked with, or different people that we've worked with, Michaela's always correcting their punctuation and their spelling, and she's like, these Brits, they don't know how to spell and write.
I'm just a nerd with that. I like it.
Yes.
I like grammar. I like, the language.
That's actually, going back to your other question, that's something I get in trouble a lot for, is my grammar and my writing. Yeah, I do get in trouble for that.
Michaela, if Tom could choose any celebrity to join him on a desert island, who would it be?
I would say that would have to be Kenny Dalglish, Sir Kenny, our favourite Kenny. Yeah, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he's just such an amazing man, and for so many years, I think Tom really admired him on a distance. And a few years ago, we were lucky to, become quite friendly with him and Marina, his wife, and the family. And you just love chatting to him, don't you? And
yeah. I'm like a kid at Christmas. It's like a kid at Christmas. I still can't pinch myself every time I'm in his presence. It's brilliant. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Yeah.
And they can talk football, never-ending football chats.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. Yeah.
So you'd be happy to be on a desert island, stuck there.
King Kenny and a bottle of Amarone. That would be perfect. Yeah.
Final question, Tom. What is the best present that Michaela has ever given you? I mean, I think if she could sort out the desert island, that probably would be it now. So.
Oh, yeah. No, best present, Michaela. I mean, she's so many wonderful presents, but I'm going to be a bit soppy now and just say thank you for our beautiful children, because even though they drive me up the wall, they're fantastic. Four wee boys, and you know, I want to throttle them quite often throughout the day, but overall, that's the best gift I could get, really.
Oh, that's lovely.
For boys as well, so he's very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Football team, yeah.
It could have gone the opposite way. He could have been 4 girls and been outnumbered. So
yeah, that's what I say to him when we're having a little tiff. You know, I'm saying you should be really lucky that you have all your boys on your side. It could have been girls. It would have been different.
That would have been very different.
Yeah. Right, so I'm going to move on to some questions from the audience. Tom, are Liverpool going to finish in the top 4?
I know. I saw that question on Twitter. Yeah, not only are we going to finish in the top 4, we're going to win the league as well. So pipe down, you.
Equally on that note, some people might want to know, why do you support Liverpool?
Yeah, that's well, my grandfather, my late grandfather, Papa Ben, he was a Scouser born and bred. So it was drilled into me from a very young age. And when I was young, all the great Scots, Kenny Dalglish, Alan Hansen, Graham Souness, they all played for Liverpool. So it was a very easy choice for me to make. And I've always followed the Reds. And yeah, they brought a lot of joy to my life and a lot of pain as well.
The highs and lows of being a football fan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm sure you've been asked this before. I'm sure you get asked it. But as it was sent across to us, as your surname is Kitchin, was it inevitable, do you think, that you were going to be a chef?
I know, it's really crazy. Yeah. I mean, you can imagine when I was at school, and I remember I was the only boy who took home economics back, all those years ago when I was probably about 13, 14. And that was very amusing then to everyone that I was taking home economics and my surname was Kitchin. But I always remember when we first opened the restaurant, there was this great guy called Johnny Walker. And funnily enough, Johnny Walker was in the drinks industry. And he came to the kitchen on the first week or so. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do.
And he said to us, "Listen, lad, whatever you do, make sure you fucking play on your name." And I thought that was pretty good advice, because he'd done that, old Johnny Walker, all his life, So yeah, we certainly played on the name, and obviously the restaurant had to have some kind of kitchen in it. So yeah, it's worked out all right, actually.
Yeah, it has. So both of you, we kind of mentioned this before we started recording, actually, but I don't know if you know him, but Saitov from Twitter, he's definitely taking advantage of this, and he says, have either of you had to deal with Google Classroom? Because he's definitely had a few questions for you. I thought you could help him out. So yeah, you said you've had to deal with home schooling, haven't you? So how's that been?
Oh, it's been quite challenging, I have to say, isn't it? I think part of the problem for us is that the boys have no level of concentration. I mean, I just feel like I'm running about just trying to gather them all in. It's like sheep, just trying to get them to all sit together and kind of concentrate for 2 minutes. They just want to run out and play football, or they just want to, cuddle the dog. They're lying on the floor or their feet up on the sofa. I can still do this with the iPad in the face, and I'm like, you can't do that. Or crawling back into bed and trying to do homework in bed. No, it's not going to work.
Well, to be fair, Michaela, I can't really say that I'm doing Michaela's doing the chunk of it, but I think in the first lockdown we got quite stressed by it, worried. But with this time, I think there's so many other things that you can bring to their lives as well. So many, whether it's cooking or games or, whatever it is, different things that, as long as they're reading, writing, they're at a young age. We don't want to get too stressed about it. Yeah. So.
What have you found, Tom, that you've looked at and thought, I can't do that, and I'm a grown
irregular
adult.
Fractions. I actually wonder if I actually went to school. Actually, and everything's on the iPad. So. It's like
we've had to learn a few new systems.
All these new systems. I'm just like, oh my goodness me. But it's quite funny because sometimes you put something up on your story on Instagram, and actually some of the teachers come back from school laughing, just like, don't take it too seriously. It's fine, so.
Yeah, I think we've chilled out quite a lot.
We're doing all right. We're
trying, but it's also, it's like you say, it's the whole thing.
It's the whole thing.
Yeah. We just want them at the end of the day to not be too stressed about the actual situation that's going on, and just be, understanding it, but still be, feeling okay and feeling well. I think that's more important.
Absolutely, yeah.
You said irregular fractions in, and I wanted to just go sit in a corner and rock. I was like, oh God. Brilliant. Okay, right. Well, as much as I love doing those questions, I need to talk to you obviously about working together and the restaurants and your your career. So you took the step to open the kitchen together it'd be about 15 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, in the summer.
In the summer, yeah.
Yeah. So looking back, what advice would you give yourselves if you could go back?
Yeah, no, that's a
good question.
That's a really good question. I mean,
I think don't be scared to ask for advice, and don't try and do it all yourself. Believe in yourself, but also listen to people, and I think that's something we've learned to be better at over the years.
the advising is really important. I mean, because there's so many wonderful chefs who have gone on to open their own restaurants, but have actually failed because instead of cooking or running the restaurant, they're busy like doing the accounts and paying all the bills and that kind of stuff, which takes them away. And I think we were very lucky. I think we were very lucky that we started so small and humbly, and there was no expectation, if you know what I mean, when we opened the restaurant.
Yeah.
So we were allowed to grow naturally and organically and grow into the role of being business owners. And I think that stood us in good stead going forward. That we didn't, sometimes you hear of chefs and people opening with humongous opening costs, and that instantaneous pressure. And I think that must be very, very challenging for young people when they've got that instant pressure like that.
Did you ever, when you initially opened, did you ever have any doubt? Did you ever think that at any point that the restaurant wouldn't be a success?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when we first opened, we were really, really busy the first week or the first 10 days maybe or so. And then we were just super quiet, and we had nights and evenings. I remember it well. And we were just like, what have we done? We've invested everything we had, and we worked so hard for so many years to be where we are and to be here, to have this restaurant. And we had no customers. We were like, where are the guests? Everyone's supposed to come now, and what's happening? And it was quite devastating, wasn't it? We had days when we had 2 diners, and we were like, 2 diners? What? Where's everybody else? It was quite awful. But, I think we were lucky to have each other as well in those situations, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But then you start to little things, little moments that you hold on to. And that's, you've got to hold on to those, whether it's a review or in the modern world, a social media post or whatever. These are the little things that just help spread the word and get you out there a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that obviously you invested everything and you did it together. Why did you decide that you were ready to have a restaurant together? Why did you think that's the next step for us both to do that?
Again, another really good question.
I don't know. I think we've talked about it for a really long time, and it was always a dream. It was a dream that we shared for a long time. And I think it's a little bit like, it's one of those things in life. There's never going to be the day when you say, today I'm ready. It's a bit like having a family. It's not going to be like, yeah, today I want a baby. I feel great. It doesn't happen like that. And I think it's just something that you're growing into it. We were heading that way for sure. And we felt that, maybe it's the right time. Maybe it's not. Let's just try. And, what's the worst that can happen?
But I also think we'd reached that stage in our life where we'd actually been in different locations. Michaela was in Dubai working in the Burj Al Arab, and I was just finishing with Lord and Lady Bamford, been cooking for them, and before that I was with Alan Ducasse, and we'd already done London. So the thought of coming back and going back to London and trying to set up in London didn't really feel like it. And we were engaged, we were going to get married. So everything drew us away from London. And, it was a choice between Stockholm and Edinburgh, really. And I managed to twist their arm into coming to Edinburgh. Not that I don't love Stockholm, but there wasn't much chance of me learning Swedish, I don't think.
See that you could do it.
Well, I mean, it worked out in the end, so it was obviously the correct decision. So
No, I was just going to say it was the right move. I mean, it was obviously we were in that point in our lives that we had to. We knew that if we were going to continue as well, we had to be in the same place. I mean, we were living apart. It was really difficult for some time, and we just sort of said, let's get back to the one place and be there together and try and do this dream that we worked so hard to.
But there is a reason. Yeah, there is a reason husband and wife teams work so well, whether whoever's front of house or back of house. But it gives you that confidence in the other person, knowing that the other person, in my example, I can concentrate on the food, and I know Michaela's got the vision for the front of house and that. And it gives you that inner confidence. And I'm sure you've seen that over generations of how at the beginning of many, many great restaurants, it has been that couple, that husband and wife team that have taken the list is endless of restaurants that's been like that.
Yeah. With that said, what is the best and worst thing about working with your husband or your wife?
But I'm going to go first here, actually, because I think it's important. You say the restaurant's 15 years old, and the difference, like right at the beginning, it was literally on top of each other constantly every single day. It was just a small kitchen. The kitchen restaurant was very small. We were a very small team, 6-7 people, and then you're living together. And especially back at the beginning, I mean, I was an absolute lunatic. I was a Fruit Loop, so I do think that was, without a shadow of a doubt, the most challenging time was right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the business has grown. We have children. We have different things. Michaela's role has changed. My role has changed so much. We don't really see each other 24/7 in the workplace. We meet for different moments during the day at work. So it's changed a lot, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, totally. I think we've obviously matured and grown in the roles, and I think we've also and it kind of goes back to what you asked about earlier, but I think it's really important to acknowledge your strengths and your weaknesses within yourself and within the twosome, and really kind of stick to what you're doing and stick to, not poke your nose into, what your husband or your wife is doing too much. It's like, I think communication is key for sure. It really is. And I feel with us, we've always had a really good communication, and it's really vital. But I feel really lucky that Tom would leave, the things that he leaves to me to deal with. And it's like I would not interfere with his kitchen other than sort of tasting here and there. And I love that. But I let him do his stuff and he lets me do my stuff. And I think that is quite a good recipe.
It's been a great combination.
It's worked for us.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, obviously you've matured and grown with each other. And I asked you earlier about what you argue about. Do you think the arguments were probably when you were younger, and maybe you know each other well enough now that you kind of, that doesn't happen?
Yeah, no, I think that's really fair. The stress at the beginning, because it was all so new, you were so raw. It was very, very difficult. And I mean, I don't think we argue particularly much. I think we do get upset with each other sometimes, but I think when you work together and you live together and you are a husband and wife team, you just can't dwell on things. You have to just get on with it. And if you don't agree with something, talk about it. And I think we try to not let it go as far as having an argument, because none of us want that. But of course we don't see eye to eye with everything, but it's quite funny when there is a bit of tension and you're in the room and the other staff are looking at each other, and you know, they all know that Michaela's going to win anyway. So, so there's no point even continuing the argument.
No, I just have to dwell on it a little bit longer than you because you're over it, you know, so quickly. But yeah,
I can't be bothered with that.
Especially when you know you're not going to win. No point.
Exactly. There's absolutely no point, and everyone knows that I'm not going to win. So, Ali, let's move on. Come on.
So you don't just have the kitchen, but so what are the big changes you have to make when you add more restaurants to your portfolio?
Oh, it's a lot of things. It really is. But I think the beauty, I mean, do you want to answer? I mean, for me, it's like the beauty about adding, you know, restaurants to your group or you know, it's really, I feel that it gives people such an opportunity to grow. It's not just us growing within the responsibilities and the work we do, but it's really exciting for the team. It's, you know, it's that whole process about just getting something new to put your teeth into. I think it's great.
Yeah, no, I think Michaela's nailed it. I think, yeah. The entrusting, when we opened the kitchen, it was very much ourselves and Philippe, who's a director, and Sylvain, who have grown with us. But as we've done more restaurants and grown the business, we've passed on the responsibility to people. And the trouble is as you grow your company, you create jobs for people, but there's the next generation are coming underneath, but their career path might be blocked. And we're all talking about in the industry about not losing staff and trying to retain good staff. So if you don't create jobs for the people who are ambitious and coming through, quite rightly, they'll move on and go somewhere else. So it's always been a natural and organic growth, shall we say, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure obviously members of your team love the fact that they have that opportunity as well, because it's not always available wherever you work, is it, to have someone who's willing to nurture you and offer you those opportunities.
That is really, really important to us, and that's something that Michaela's drummed into us as well, is trying to create a career path for everyone within the company, and, you know, let them grow and really, you know, see where they want to go. What is it they want to achieve? Because every individual is so different, aren't they? Mm-hmm. I mean, some people, you know, circumstances, they might have kids, they might not, they might just be really happy, you know, being a bar manager for, you know, everyone's different. And, you know, that's...
I think it's incredibly rewarding to see an individual grow. And I think, you know, over the years, we've seen that so many times, and it's been, you know, some real highlights for us. It's incredible to just be able to nurture somebody, to be able to mentor somebody, to see how they're getting more and more brave to move on and taking on new responsibilities. And, you know, I love that. I really, really love that whole nurturing and the individual development and making people believe that they can do things that, you know, they haven't done before, and testing new areas. I think hospitality is so great in that sense, that there's so many different jobs that you can do. And I don't think people realize that sometimes. You think that you go into hospitality maybe as a young boy or girl to just be, you know, to be a waiter or a waitress or be a chef, but there's also so many other elements to the whole industry that you can work with and do. And it's like I say sometimes, but it's like a little society in its own right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's all different talents within working together in a small proximity to just be able to give the guests at the end of the day a fantastic experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you're talking about how nurturing other people's careers, but what about as a couple, what has been your career highlight, do you think?
Our career highlight? Oh, man. I mean, there's been so many, hasn't there? But for me, I mean, automatically you would talk about like opening the restaurant or winning a Michelin star or... but there's one thing that always sticks in my mind, which was right at the beginning, was literally, we were such a small team. Like when the phone rang, you know, it might be myself who picked up the phone to take the booking. It might be like, I always remember Michaela, like we just had our first child and she was taking the bookings and rocking the buggy with her foot. But I always remember the first time when whoever it was took the booking and they said, "Oh, I'm incredibly sorry, sir, but we're fully booked for this Saturday. But would you like us to put you on the waiting list?" And I remember, like, we put the phone down. We're like, "Yes, we're fully booked." You know, like it was like a kind of eureka moment. You know, and you know, now you have to pinch yourself. Like at the kitchen, I mean, God knows how many months it is in advance for a weekend table. So, you know, it's just the small things that you remember, but they were such important moments along the road, you know. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
There's been many.
But there's been so many highlights.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about Scottish produce, because there was a few questions about that when I said I was going to be talking to you both. How important is it to you both to highlight Scottish produce within what you're doing?
Oh, incredibly important. Yeah. Incredibly important. You know, they're the backbone of what we do. Everything we do is around local Scottish and the primest ingredients and being true to the seasons, and we've always done that. And I think when we started the restaurant 15 years ago, I mean, it was, you know, we had this saying, this philosophy, from nature to plate, and I think some people questioned it in the early days, sort of, why would you put up this slogan type thing? And I think they soon realized that we kind of live and breathe it, and we still do to this day. And obviously now it's so much wider. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, we were sort of champions of it, but we have really, really lived like that for a long time, and now it's sort of second, you know, what's the word? Second nature. But yeah, no, the suppliers are vital.
I mean, it's not the Scottish produce. It's not some kind of PR. We're absolutely fanatical about it. And you know what I really love now is that we're even more fanatical now than we were at the beginning. Yeah. You know, we live and breathe it. And the other thing which I love is that like our chefs, if you look at my head chef, Lachlan Archibald, who, on Instagram, you know, he's absolutely living and breathing it. You know, he's absolutely all over the place sourcing different, you know, seasonal produce. And, you know, it's not a PR myth, a game or something. It's an absolute lifestyle. It's 100% dedication to Scottish producers. And this is why this pandemic is absolutely crippling. And this is when, you know, when I was shouting out on social before Christmas, is because the restaurants are the linchpin. If we are not operating, if restaurants in Scotland are not operating, we cannot pay our suppliers, and our suppliers cannot pay the fishermen, the butchers, the farmers, or whatever. It's the whole linchpin to the domino effect, if you see what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you actually, because you spoke to Nicola Sturgeon, didn't you, about the kind of the restrictions on hospitality at the minute, and we talked about your journey through your kind of career. Did you ever think you'd be on the phone talking to Nicola Sturgeon about what was going on in Scotland?
Yeah, no, absolutely, of course not. I mean, it was a really surreal experience. You know, even going on Scottish Question Time and sitting there with all these MPs live. I mean, at one moment I was just thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing here? You know, but, you know, I found it just kind of, for some reason or some way, I found myself being pushed into, you know, being a kind of spokesman, because I felt so passionately about it, because we as a business were hurting so much. And, you know, we're a so-called big hospitality business in Scotland. If we were absolutely hurting like we were, we had to get that word out there of how the others would be hurting as well. And then you really get into it and you start to understand the suppliers. I mean, it's just been a really tragic time. So it was a real honor to go and speak to these people and get the word out there. I mean, it didn't do much good in the end, but I tried my hardest. Yeah.
What did she have to say about what you had to say? Because I think sometimes it probably feels like we're screaming and no one's listening. Do you know what I mean? So to actually have that conversation, what did she actually have to say in response to what you were asking?
I don't really want to get into that because Scotland is a very volatile place. If you say anything about anything political, you're going to be in trouble. So I don't really want to get involved in that. I mean, the First Minister, she understood the problems, but of course, on the flip side to that, she has a pandemic and people are dying. So I understand it's a very, very difficult situation. I was just really trying to highlight the plight of the hospitality industry, and tragically how many people are losing their jobs and how many businesses are going out of business. And I just felt there was certain little things that I put across to the First Minister that I thought could help us. It's literally just about survival. That's all it is. We're not looking to make any money. We're just trying to keep as many people employed and keep as many businesses alive as possible. And that's what I was fighting for.
Well, I'm sure that everyone appreciates the fact that you did that. So, but yeah, we'll leave that there, because I don't want to dwell on what's going on at the minute too much. So, I just want to go back, because you kind of briefly mentioned it when we were talking about obviously working together as a family-run business. Are there any other family-run businesses in hospitality that you kind of admire, or that you found inspiring, or that you look at now and you think, yeah, they're doing great things?
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, there's loads.
But absolutely. I mean, especially in this pandemic, I found myself looking to Paul and Emma in Cornwall, Jason and Ira, Tom Kitchin and Beth, just different people like that, Sat Baines, that they're all in it together. And I just really love the camaraderie spirit of being able to phone these people and just talk and understand. And I think the one, Paul Ainsworth, a very similar business concept, to what we had here. His little part of the world in Cornwall, and husband and wife team, and started very small and grown naturally and organically. And I think we were both in a very similar position, because when the pandemic came, the thing that was very difficult for us is that we had actually grown the business. We'd opened Southside and Bonnie Badger the year before, and we are in heavy debt, which was manageable debt in the old world, but we'd invested a lot of money. We'd taken out a lot of loans to grow the business, and then the pandemic comes in. And I think I really appreciated the time that these people gave me to speak, because it allowed you to bounce ideas and just understand. And in a way, it was comforting that you could feel that other people were in the same boat as yourselves.
There's a few couples in Edinburgh as well that, that we obviously that are in a very similar situation to ourselves. Got Karen and Brett at Dundee, and Martin Wishart, Cecile, and I mean, there's a few to mention. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really helped us for sure to stay in touch with these guys, and also knowing that we're all struggling, and it's about, like what Tom is saying, sometimes it's not about comparing wounds. Everyone has them. It's just about trying to push on and do the best that we can of a really crazy situation, and we're not alone. We're in it together, and we just have to wait for those days when we can reopen again, and life will go back.
And I think that's another thing. If you are a restaurateur or you have a business, it's okay to phone someone up and ask for help, because there's always a little nugget that you'll get from that conversation. So don't feel that you've failed, or you're not being able to run just pick up the phone. People will always speak. People will always share their knowledge and stuff. And I think that's one of the great things that has come out of the pandemic, is broken down so many boundaries, so many walls, where actually has brought us together as a hospitality family.
Michaela, in terms of the future, what does it look like for the Kitchen Group? I know that's quite a difficult question at the minute, but did you have plans in place before everything that happened that you're hoping that you can pick up after this, like you said, when hopefully we get back to a little bit more normal? Or are you thinking more day to day now as we're going through this?
I mean, I think we're always, we certainly chat about it every day. We're trying to really use this time now to think about the future as much as we can, and try and think about how we can do things differently or how we can improve things. And it's actually one of the good things that has come out of this is that it's actually given us a little bit of thinking time. I think, you know, in normal life, we're always short of thinking time. I think, you know, you never stop. It's just one thing after the next. And I think with this pandemic, it's certainly given us a lot of time, good and bad. But it's, I think it's for us for sure. I mean, we're always talking about what to do next, and you know, what will things look like when we reopen again. I mean, for us in the immediate future, we're just wanting to open, you know, the kitchen, the Strand and Scally, and the Bonnie Badger, and get those three up and running. And the next is to see how we're going to manage to open our Brunsfield restaurant again, which has sadly been closed now for some time. And we really have every intention to open that up again. And yeah, we're talking about that quite a lot, aren't we? Just to see what we're going to do. It's just a new world, and you know, we're all adapting.
I think before you start making ambitious plans to do new ventures and stuff, it's very much about survival of preserving what we've got, keeping as many people in jobs as we possibly can, and just getting the economy working again, and just get these hospitality businesses working again, and hopefully then we can start employing more people, and you know, there will be opportunities, there will be great things. And you know, sadly, really, you know, tragically, we lost Castle Terrace, Chef Dominic Jack, but we're delighted that Dominic has stayed with us in the group, and you know, he's helping us massively, and it's really reassuring that, you know, you've got someone like him to go around and has the eye, and you know, it's really fantastic. So there will be opportunities, but for now, I think we just want to try and get back on our feet.
I mean, we lost so much in the first lockdown, really, in you know, the early days there, and it was. It's been a roller coaster of the year for sure, and sadly we lost a lot of people as well, and we had to de-size the company, and it's been a lot of changes for everyone to adapt to. But on the other hand, you know, we're strong, and we have a lot of great people still with us, and we feel positive about things to come, and we will do other things. We never say no. We always have an open attitude to new ideas and new projects, and we discuss it, and you know, we follow it through, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but you know, we're still ambitious, we still love what we do, and you know, it's what we do, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my final question then, would you recommend working with family?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a feeling of trust, and it's a very beautiful thing to do. I know it's not for everyone, but you know, there will be highs, there will be lows, it will be an emotional roller coaster, but absolutely I would recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I think it is a really nice, comforting thing that somebody believes and loves your business the same way that you do, and you know, puts everything into it. And it's also, I guess, for good and bad sometimes, that you're always in that bubble together. But I think it's certainly, for us, it's really worked.
It's a lifestyle, isn't it?
It is a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. I think it'd be very hard if Michaela was a teacher and I was a chef at the beginning. You know, but like, it's very hard to understand each other's world. But because we're both from the same industry, and we understand, you know, how it works. And,
I think because we've grown up in the industry as well, you know, we've known the nuts and bolts throughout, and it's also been a way that, you know, we've raised our family within the restaurants, and it's our life, and everything we do is sort of surrounding that aspect of, you know, our life. It is just surrounding, you know, hospitality is just surrounding it, and this is just what we do, and we certainly love it.
Do you think the boys will follow in your footsteps, or do you think your fine dining menu for lockdown has put them off for life?
Good point.
I don't know. Obviously, there's no pressure, but there's no signs yet. Certainly, but
They're pretty good eaters most of the time.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty good eaters. I mean,
but they just want to be footballers, don't they?
I was going to say, are we encouraging them to play for Liverpool or get a Michelin star? Where are we going?
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think it's important that their kids they follow that dream of being footballers. But who knows what will happen when the penny starts to drop that one day they're going to have a proper job and see, and take
and us doing what we're doing and them always been dragged into the restaurants and coming in on their day off and or after school or whatever,
every holiday.
I mean, it's always been their life, and I think they don't think so much of it. It's more when other people kind of comment on it or they think it's a bit different or whatever that they become aware of it. But I think they're just quite used to hearing about it quite a lot and hearing about food all the time, and our holidays are always centered around eating, to be honest.
It's funny when they go to someone else's house, like in winter, and they'll come back and say, "Dad, guess what? They had strawberries in winter."
And we're like, "We hope you didn't say anything. Did you say something?"
You didn't say anything. like it's the most criminal thing you could do is buy strawberries in winter.
They're making notes and bringing them back to you. Brilliant. Well, thank you both so much for talking to me. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really good fun, and I've loved getting to know you both a little bit better. I'm going to let you go. Tom, I'm going to let you plan your meals for the day because you're probably itching to figure out what that's going to be. And I will speak to you soon.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for having us.
We look forward to seeing one of these awards soon, where we can have a nice glass of champagne.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. Not socially distanced either.
Exactly.
That would be even better.
Yeah. All right, take care.
All right, thank you very much. We hope you enjoy listening to Grilled as much as we enjoy recording it. If you want to catch up on past episodes, they are all available now. Just search for Grilled by the Staff Canteen where you normally get your podcasts. And if you want to help us keep bringing you the content you love, you can contribute from as little as £1. Just head to thestaffcanteen.com to find out how.
This episode of Grilled is sponsored by Rationale, your leading provider in multifunctional hot food preparation equipment. Register now for a free Rationale live demo at www.rationale-online.com.